Imagine paying $4,200 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. That's more than double what the average recent college grad earns. And if you're in San Francisco, you'd need to work over 160 hours a week just to afford rent. That's 23 hours a day. Sound broken? It is. But the bigger tragedy? The very policies meant to fix this mess, rent control, housing freezes, government caps, are often making it worse. Millennials and Gen Z have been sold a dream. Go to college, work hard, get a good job, and eventually own a home. But for many, that dream feels like a cruel joke. Student debt sits at $1.7 trillion. Wages are flat. And rent eats up more than 30% of income for over half of young renters, officially making them housing burdened. They're not saving for homes. They're barely surviving. So when politicians promise rent control, cheap, stable housing, it sounds like a lifeline. But history tells a different story. Flashback to New York City, 1940s to 1980s. Rent control froze prices and froze development. Landlords couldn't afford to maintain buildings, so they didn't. New construction dried up. Properties were abandoned. Whole neighborhoods, like the South Bronx, turned into ghost towns. By the 1970s, homelessness was skyrocketing, not because of rising rents, but because of good intentions gone wrong. And this isn't just an American story. Stockholm, Berlin, Santa Monica, cities across the globe tried rent control. Most saw the same outcome: housing shortages, urban decay, and black markets for rent-controlled units. Now let's zoom out. What happens when the government doesn't just freeze rent, but controls the entire housing economy? China offers a chilling answer. In its quest to build a booming middle class, China created entire cities from scratch. But many now sit empty, eerie ghost towns of overbuilding, debt, and collapse. When markets are ignored in favor of central planning, the result isn't affordability. It's dysfunction on a massive scale. But not every city failed. Some places embraced the opposite approach: deregulation, fast permitting, fewer zoning restrictions. Look at Houston. No zoning laws. And yet, it's one of the few U.S. cities where housing remains relatively affordable. Austin boomed post-COVID but quickly ramped up supply, proving that markets, when allowed to function, self-correct. Globally, cities like Seoul, Vienna, Montreal, and even Tokyo have managed housing affordability far better through smart urban planning and by allowing more housing to be built, not less. Even Buenos Aires saw rents drop and supply triple after repealing rent control. So if we know what works, why aren't we doing it? Because supply is politically hard. Homeowners resist new buildings near them. Not in my backyard. Developers game the system. Local governments want tax revenue, not affordable housing. In San Francisco, over 75% of residential land bans apartments outright. Toronto's still clinging to single-family zoning. So we get scarcity. And with scarcity comes higher prices, not just for homes, but for hope. This isn't just about buildings and rent. It's about freedom versus control. Free markets aren't perfect. They create inequality, volatility, winners and losers. But command economies and price freezes, they create stagnation, decay, and dependence. We're not choosing between perfection and failure. We're choosing between slow, messy growth or slow, quiet collapse. Here's what actually moves the needle. End rent control. Not overnight, but strategically. Reform zoning laws to allow more apartments. Make it easier and faster to build. Reduce student debt so young people can afford to plan futures. Focus on real wage growth, not political optics. Most of all, educate, because the biggest barrier is misunderstanding. People want fast fixes, but rent control is a bandage on a bullet wound. If you're young, working hard, and still feel like you're falling behind, it's not your imagination. The system is tilted, but we need more than anger. We need clarity. Rent control feels fair, but fairness isn't the same as function. If we want a future where owning a home is possible again, we have to stop blaming the market and start unleashing it. Because the only thing worse than unaffordable rent is believing you're powerless to change it. This is InnerEconomics, where we unpack the invisible forces shaping your financial life. Subscribe for deeper insights. And remember, housing is too important to be governed by slogans. It needs strategy.